No, it's funny that you asked this. It's like this time last year, y'all were asking me, you think you'd end your career at Ole Miss? And then within 300 days, you asked me about a hot seat. But that's the SEC. So, but I don't worry about that. I don't. I have 4 years left. I really do. I'd like to end my career right there at Ole Miss. And I want our staff and I to take Ole Miss to Atlanta, a place they've never been. Went to 2 back-to-back Cotton Bowls, first time in 50-something years. And within 300 days, you get asked about a hot seat. So I'm excited about the future, and we had an excellent recruiting class. We signed the best players in Mississippi, and we're expecting some of those guys to really come in and help us.
Coach, it was just a couple of years ago where you guys got all the hype when Steve was around, and I remember you saying that day, we're going to see how this program handles the hype. Obviously, it didn't go so well. How much of a learning experience do you take from that year in and year out at this time of year you can tell your players?
That's a good question, because 5 previous seasons of those 2 Cotton Bowls, they hadn't gone to a bowl. And so it's the first success they've ever had. And then all of a sudden the magazines and Jevin Steve on top of that magazine, a lot of hype, as you mentioned. So we were in uncharted waters. And so, and then you have a year like we had last year, reality sinks in. That you just can't assume that you're going to a Cotton Bowl. You can't assume that you're going to win in the SEC. There's a lot of teams in the SEC that you'd never think would lose this many games. But we're in the toughest of toughest leagues. And you never know about injury. You never know about a certain player. And like a Kentrell Lockett last year that tore his knee. That really hurt us, leadership-wise, on the field-wise. He was the guy that reached out and blocked the extra point in the swamp. When we beat Tebow and the guy. So, I mean, you never know year to year. But it's how you handle it. Right now, we're in the mode of very focused, working hard, getting ready for a great opener, BYU.
Coach, talk about the quarterback situation and when you think that you'll have an idea of who that starter is going to be.
I tell you, we got 3 quarterbacks that they all can play. They haven't played in this league yet, but they're very, very good. And I'm looking forward to the one really step out. We play tonight for every day. We'll probably go out there first. Randall Mackey's an Italian. You can see why he was an All-American junior college player. Very talented playmaker. Zach Stout's a strong arm guy, a lot like Jevin Steve, maybe a better athlete. So we got a good group of guys, but those guys, we got to find out the one that's going to take care of the ball and put us in the end zone.
Going into the season, who do you think will be the teams to beat, like in the West? Just how do you see it maybe shaping up?
No, it's always Alabama, LSU, Auburn, the defending national champions. You got to put them up there. Arkansas looks good. I mean, it's just the West could be a conference within itself. You know, it could be one of the toughest conferences just on the West side. So to me, you got to get ready for everybody.
Coach, Mississippi State having so much success last year, does that help your state recruiting in your state, where both teams kind of, the rivalry, I guess?
I think it did last year, I guess. I mean, we had the best recruiting signing class in the state of Mississippi in a long time. So it's always very competitive. And that Egg Bowl is a very, very important game. And I'm looking forward to it.
There's always so much pressure and scrutiny and pressure to get wins and things like that. Is there any room left in college football to have fun?
I try to have fun every day. It's the only way you can do it. I think it's the only way you can be here 14 years. You've got to have integrity, some character, and you've got to have fun. You've got to make it fun for 18, 19, and 20-year-old. It's still just a little bitty baby boys football game, really, when you get right down to it. They love this game, and you got to make it fun. But to sit there and worry all night, am I going to win, am I going to win, am I going to keep our job? You can't go about it that way.
Speaking of fun, Bradley said that you had some game on basketball court.
I'm down to half court. I'm down to half court. I can't get full court. I'm half.
Coach, how long does it take to, in your opinion, to get a program where it needs to be? Because it seems like you were just talking about 300 days. The nature of the questions you're receiving have completely taken a 180. How long does it take?
You know, I really wish y'all would do a study. You go back and look at a good friend of mine, Frank Beamer. Go back and look at his record. There was a time there It took him some years to really get it going, 6, 7, 8 seasons. I think if you go back and look at it, but look at him now. And but the world that we live in, I don't know. I mean, I think it's everybody wants to win yesterday. And what happens with us is we took some very good players that we inherited that really didn't know how to win, didn't know how to be a family. You got them together and took off. So your expectations rise so much faster. Where, you know, we're thinking about a 3, 4, 5-year plan. So to me, I don't worry about 5, 6, 7 years. I worry about right now trying to win every ball game, starting with the first one and go through it. But that's a good question because you'd like to think you could have 5 years to get it going, but it's hard.
It's a